is episode number 40 of Hitting for the Cycle. That's Ben Kruse. I'm Ryan Touhey, and we have reached the final weekend of the first half of the Major League Baseball season. The All-Star break is going to happen next week. And Ben, it's been a wild first half of baseball, to say the least.
It has. I know like the first couple months I was focused on the baseball season, but like obviously between the Bruins, between the Celtics, like I wasn't like keyed in on it, specifically. I mean, I'd obviously have it kind of in the background, of course, but now it's really for me, and I think for most, fans, because it's really just baseball at this point in time, sports wise. And I've just been keyed on it, especially with the way that, my team has been playing recently. I mean, we'll obviously kind of talk about it a little bit. Um, but regardless, if they're playing good or not, it's baseball, obviously my favorite sport. And obviously got the chance to meet you, Ryan, personally on Friday. It was great. We'll obviously talk about that a little bit later on the show. And yeah, just, it's crazy how the first half just went like that. And can't wait for the second half. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. And I'm going on vacation next week. We'll hopefully get to watch some of the All-Star break down there. So vibes are good. I'll tell you that. Things are going to, pretty good for me right now. How are you doing?
I am doing fine myself, whereas your vibes are pretty high. Mine are kind of down right now. I cannot wait for this All-Star break because, God, do I need it. And I think my
Mhm.
team could use the All-Star break as well because the free-falling Yankees continue to free-fall. Had another series loss this past week to the Tampa Bay Rays. They have not won a series in a month now. They have not won 2 games in a row in a month now, and it's gotten really bad. And I'll elaborate on all this more along with Ben as this episode goes along. But before I get into that, I just want to remind everybody to please follow Hitting for the Cycle on Facebook, X, and Instagram at HFTC Follow the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network. Follow our YouTube channel at ETB Network, or youtube.com/ETB Network. You see it right here in the graphic below. And finally, listen to us on whatever platform so you listen to your podcasts on. Ben, your microphone is not on.
Thank you, Ryan. This episode to you guys is presented to you guys by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. And join our community by going to playback.tv/GGB Network to find more, including our live stream schedule.
All right, so we're going to get into it with a very sensitive subject. This was actually one of the first subjects that I talked about when I first started doing this podcast last year, and it revolves around Wander Franco. The former infielder for the Tampa Bay Rays is facing up to 20 years in prison for sexual abuse and human trafficking. So this is pretty bad news to hear. And I'm reading this article from Bob Nightingale of USA Today. The Rays were informed of this on Tuesday night, and they requested on Wednesday, which was today's July 12th, that we're recording this, so this would have been July 10th then. So on July 10th, the Rays requested that he be placed on the restricted list instead of the administrative list. And Franco, of course, signed that humongous contract with the Tampa Bay Rays, 11 years, $182 million, by far the biggest contract in the history of the Tampa Bay Rays. And this is what the Rays are getting out of it, unfortunately. And this is absolutely horrible news. The whole situation is just horrible. It's disgusting that Franco engaged in this kind of behavior. And the fact that Franco apparently kept paying the girl's mother to continue the relationship. That he had a relationship with a minor, a 14-year-old girl, and the mother apparently kept receiving the payments from Franco to keep her mouth shut about this. It's sick. There's really no other way of saying it. And I hate talking about this topic. I really do. It's not enjoyable at all, but it is a big story. Franco was supposed to be the new face of the Tampa Bay Rays for years to come. Now he is, in all likelihood, going to be spending a nice long time behind bars, and it's really bad. It's sad to hear that this happened in the first place, and it's just disgusting. And I really don't know what else you can say about this. This is just, it's not fun to talk about. I hate talking about this, and I don't know if you have anything you want to elaborate on.
Yeah. All I'll say is just yikes, yikes, and I've obviously been really tuned to a lot of really good stuff in baseball in the first half. But we have a couple different stuff we've talked about in the first half, whether it's the Shohei incident with the betting, this and that. Now we have this situation here, and yeah, just 14-year-old minor. I mean, just what are you doing? Why? You were supposed to be a franchise player. I'm listening. I don't think either of us like the Rays per se at all. But Juan DeFranco was going to be a special player. I mean, kind of the way that this trajectory was going to be. I mean, I got to see him play in person a couple times at Fenway. I felt like the guy never got out. He was always putting up a great at bat. I'm like, damn, I would love to have this guy on my team. And now, essentially, from him not playing baseball to not only not playing baseball, but pretty much having your life in jeopardy. This is something that he is going to have affected by him. And I just, with some people, Ryan, the minds that they have is just mind blowing, and some of them is just in not a good way, and this is one of them. So I don't understand this in terms of what he's going through right now. I mean, I hope he gets help. That's the biggest thing. Hopefully he is literally taking this situation and yeah, he obviously made a massive fuck up. But, we'll see in terms of over the course of the years if he's going to learn from this and get better from it, or it's just going to continuously be something that is going to be, affected by him, which is already going to be. So, like you said, I don't really like talking about this either. I mean, this is obviously not really impacting our teams. It's impacting baseball. He was going to be obviously a great, great overall player, but now he's screwed.
Yeah, and I feel bad for the victim. I feel bad for that girl. That's
Yep.
also another thing. And I'm just reading from ESPN. So Franco's Dominican-based attorney, Tedosio Jaquez. I'm probably butchering that name. He said to ESPN on Wednesday, July 10th, the first preliminary hearing for this case will be held on August 14th. And Franco was initially accused by the Dominican prosecutors of commercial and sexual exploitation and money laundering on June 3rd. And then 6 days after June 3rd, on June 9th, a judge in the Dominican Republic accused Franco of a lesser charge of sexual and psychological abuse. But then a nearly 600-page document, which was obtained by ESPN, was presented to the judge at the hearing in January. And the prosecutors shared the evidence of their investigation of Franco. So Franco's been under investigation for a year at this point. The news of this broke during the summer of last year in July, I believe, and it really has just escalated. Every update has just gotten worse and worse and worse, and like we said, Franco is kind of screwed. I don't know if you're ever going to see him in Major League Baseball ever again, nor do I think you should.
Mhm.
And Yeah, it's disgusting. And
Yeah.
Major League Baseball said we are aware of the charges against Mr. Franco. They said this on Wednesday. Our investigation remains open, and we will continue to closely monitor the case as it moves forward. So we'll see what happens. Franco is set for trial within a month, and we'll see if this just gets worse and worse. We'll see if how if this isn't even the tip of the iceberg. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's really all I have to say about this. Like I said, I don't really like talking about this kind of stuff, and as Ben said, this doesn't really concern our teams. It does concern baseball, unfortunately. And we don't want these kinds of personalities representing the game.
Especially to a player like this that had potential. It was not like it was. I mean, obviously, if it was another guy specifically, yeah, it sucks. It's depressing regardless. But this was not only going to be a very good talent, in our game, but probably the best franchise player for the Rays over the course of who knows how long, maybe besides Evan Longoria. I think Randy Rosarina was destined to potentially be that a couple years ago in the playoffs. He's a good player, but he's obviously had a very, very tough year this year, which will happen. But he was going to be, I think, their mainstay, especially at shortstop. And, the thing about the Rays is they somehow bring these guys in and they turn gold a lot of the time. But, this year it seems a little bit different, thankfully, knock on wood. But regardless of the fact, he was going to be a great overall talent that I think was going to be a killer for both of our teams. And now he is, not playing. And like you said, he shouldn't be playing. That this is something that is awful, disgusting. No other words about it.
All right, so that's what we got to say about that. So let's move on to more baseball related stories now. The home run derby field is finalized. The 8 participants who are going to compete in the 2024 home run derby are Gunnar Henderson, which we covered in a couple of episodes ago,
Yep.
Alec Boehm of the Philadelphia Phillies, Bobby Wood Jr. of the Kansas City Royals, Marcelo Ozuna of the Atlanta Braves, Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians,
Oh,
Adolis Garcia of, what was that?
I didn't know J Ram was in it. That's good to know.
Yeah, Jose Ramirez is in it.
Hmm.
Adolis Garcia of the Texas Rangers, Teoscar Hernandez of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and Pete Alonso of the New York Mets. So, my first thought looking at this list, when I saw Bobby Wood Jr.'s name on this, I'm like, dude, no, because I don't want him to start trying to become a home run hitter. I love
Mhm.
Bobby Wood Jr. I think
Me too.
he's a hell of a ball player. But
Yeah.
man, I hope this doesn't mess up his swing after the All Star break, because we've seen that happen sometimes to some guys. They kind of get into that. This almost becomes the swing to hit a home run in a home run derby almost kind of follows you. It almost becomes second nature in a way, because you just are just trying to hit home run after home run after home run, and it just is a natural instinct for these guys to still be in that frame of mind, or for your body to react
Right.
in that state of mind, and unfortunately can lead to prolonged slumps. We saw that with Aaron Judge in his rookie year in 2017 when he got off to that scorching hot start, and
Mhm.
he participated in the home run derby. And I was ambivalent with that because, I didn't want him to mess his swing up, obviously. But at the same time, I thought, all right, you know what? He's a rookie. Let the kid have some fun. All right, fine. I'll let it slide a
Yep.
little bit. But then he went into a slump for like a month and a half to 2 months, and he picked it up, thankfully, in September. And,
Mhm.
it's a big reason why the Yankees were able to qualify for the playoffs that year. But yeah, Witt is somebody who I'm just a little concerned about when it comes to the home run derby. And Witt's not necessarily a home run hitter to begin with. Like, he's more of a line drive average hitter. So, but I guess he wanted to participate in this, and I think it's getting harder to find guys who are willing to participate in this home run derby nowadays.
Yep.
But he's going to join. But I guess if I had to choose as to who I think is going to win the home run derby this year, um, I'm going to go out and say I'm going to choose Jose Ramirez, because Ramirez has been in baseball for a long time now, and he has very underrated pop in that bat. And knowing him, the professional hitter he is, I don't think he's going to allow the home run derby to affect his play too much.
Mhm.
I think
Yep.
he's been in the around the league enough to know what he has to do to acclimate himself back to full time baseball. Every single day once the All Star break is over. And I just think that he's going to have fun. And, he's an established veteran. He's done a lot in his career. So give me Jose Ramirez for the 2024 Home Run Derby winner. I think that he'll put on a show. I really do. I think the fans are going to enjoy watching him play. I know a lot of fans are going to be excited for the hometown hero, Adolis Garcia. I'm sure Garcia is going to embrace hitting home runs in front of his hometown fans in Texas. So, we'll be on the lookout for that. I'm sure he'll do a lot of pointing and posing and everything in the batter's box as well whenever he homers. Um, yeah, give me Jose Ramirez as the 2024 home run derby winner. You got any predictions?
Yeah, I do. And before I was going to get into my prediction, like you were saying, it's been really hard to get guys now to participate in the home run derby. And so, like, you're naming the overall guys on the list. Gunnar Henderson. Yeah, he's a home run god, but like, he's not like a guy that will jump as power right away. He's kind of a guy that kind of like Bobby Witt. Those two guys kind of go with it. Teoscar Hernandez. Okay, you can make an argument. Adolis Garcia. Yes, he's a power guy. Most times than not, he's usually homer or strikeout. Um, Bobby Witt Jr. Five tool guy. Great talent. Just hopefully he doesn't kill my Red Sox this weekend. That'd be one thing I would hate, even though he'll probably will do it at some point. Just hopefully it doesn't affect any type of their wins for sure. But love Bobby Witt. And then Pete Alonso. This is essentially his World Series specifically. If the Mets aren't winning it, because he's just one of those guys. Be like, hey, I'm ready to go. I'll do it. Credit to Pete, because there's not a lot of guys now these days that will just sign up to do it now these days, and he's one of them. So I give a lot of credit to Pete. And then J-Ron, just consistent as they come. He's one of the most, like you said, Ryan, one of the most underrated third basemen out there. There's a lot of things I'd take him over Rafi, and obviously have my cases about the debate of who's better than not. I love both, for sure. So for me, Ryan, this is one guy I think that's he had a kind of a tough first half, but he had a fantastic postseason for the Rangers. I think he's going to figure it out in the second half, and he's going to go crazy. I'm going with the Adolis Garcia. I'm going with the hometown kid, the familiarity in that park. I think he's going to really take this to the next level. I think he's going to face Pete Alonso in the final. Because I look at the rest of the guys. Oh, Alec Bohm as well too. Alec Bohm. I mean, come on. You know, so listen. I mean, Alec Bohm is a great player. He's a good player. He's had a really good first half. But I'm looking at a lot of these guys. Gunnar Henderson. Okay, you can make decent. You know, Gunnar. Alec Bohm, Teoscar. Like none of these guys specifically. I think there might also first timers as well. And they could prove me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Home run derby, it's all about in terms of the timing, and it just you never know. But I'm taking Adolis Garcia. I think that he's going to have hometown and the kind of the crowd behind him. Very similar to J Rod, I think, from when he was over at Seattle for the home run derby. I don't know if he won that one, but like he's going to kind of have that overall vibe. And a couple guys that I'm going to miss, and this I'm not going to lie, is Adley Rutschman and Vlad. Adley and Vlad, I remember a couple years ago, had a great overall showing, and Luis Robert Jr. Luis Roberts had a very tough first half. But man, when he hits the ball, he mashes baseballs. So there's a couple of guys that I low-key kind of miss in this. But like you said, it's kind of now tough for guys to kind of participate, especially with some guys have the tendencies to kind of mess up their swing in the second half. So that's another thing too. But give me Adolis Garcia to win this one, and it'll be fun. Obviously, I love the home run derby. I prefer honestly more than the All-Star game at this point in time. I don't know how you feel about it, but just always loved it. That's obviously a bucket list of thing for me to go to at some point, and yeah, can't wait for it.
Yeah, I think Garcia definitely is going to put on a show too. So I could see him. I wouldn't be shocked if he won the home run derby, but I'm still going to stick with my gut and just go Jose Ramirez. But Pete Alonso's no stranger to the home run derby. He's won it twice. He won it in both 2019 and 2021. So he's probably the biggest threat to win it again since he's already won it twice. So I assume that he'll put up a good fight. I think I could see him being the runner-up this year. And Julio Rodriguez didn't win it, but he was a runner-up in 2022 in Los Angeles. But yeah, it should be fun. And the Derby is going to be starting at around 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. You can catch it on ESPN and the ESPN app. And as we had mentioned in an episode a couple of weeks ago, that the format this year once again is changing. Players in the first round, they will be seeing either 40 pitches or they get 3 full minutes at the plate, whatever comes first. And in the final round, the pitch count goes down to 27 pitches, and you're in there for at least 2 minutes. So rule changes keep coming and going with the home run derby. And I think that's also part of the reason why guys are just not volunteering to participate in this show. But the home run derby is still entertaining. You can't deny that. And yeah, at this point, I think I would probably just watch the home run derby more than the All Star game because there's just really nothing on the line anymore when it comes to the All Star game. There's really no American League, National League rivalry, or
Yeah.
there's just nothing. There's nothing at stake anymore. It had more meaning in the old days when the leagues were separate before interleague play, but that's just not the case anymore. And also, I don't like the fact that both sides have designated uniforms now. I miss the old days where they just wore their own jerseys. I think it was kind of cool. It was a little. I mean, it was cool to see teams that have rivalries be on one side against another team.
Right.
And it's kind of like you're mixing a bunch of superpowers into one team. So yeah, I do miss that aspect about the home run derby, and
Mhm.
but it is what it is.
Another thing too that kind of bugs me, is like I like the mic'd up guys, but like you want to just interview guys now like left and right. Like, come on.
It's too much now.
We're trying to watch baseball. We're not trying to see guys being mic'd up. If you want to do that, don't they have like the media stuff, like the media fun stuff where they interview these guys? You guys could do it then. But then you want to do it on the field also? Come on. Like, I don't
Yeah, and I mean, I remember a couple of years ago they made Alek Manoah do an interview while he was pitching. I mean, I guess it's cool to an extent, but at the
know.
same time, I'm like, he's pitching. You're gonna distract him. Like it is what it is, though. I'm not in charge of the All Star game or
Right.
anything like that. You can only ask for so much, and I know a lot of people would disagree. Probably, I know a lot of people like that aspect since it's an exhibition game, and I know the game doesn't count. And I know these guys shouldn't be giving it their all technically because they want to keep these guys healthy for the second half. But still, I'm just not totally a fan of it.
I agree.
All right. Well, that's that. The home run derby takes place in a couple of days. First on Monday, and then which is July 16th, and then the All Star game is the day after, July 17th. It takes place in Arlington, in Texas, home of the defending world champion Rangers. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see if Alonso can win a third home run derby, or if either of our picks actually happen. And we'll see if the National League can make it two in a row over the American League in the All-Star game for the first time since 2011 or 2010 to 2012, when it was three in a row for the National League. The American League has just dominated the All-Star game to the point where it's actually bored me. It's ridiculous.
Well, maybe the American League kind of felt that last year. It's probably about damn time that like the National League kind of has their thing. But
I was honestly rooting for the National League last year.
yeah,
Have some pride, for God's sake. It's been forever. You've barely
yeah,
won this game in the past 30 years. Win one.
right. No,
Um,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, especially now with like the games don't really mean much, but it
Yeah.
kind of is just like a pride thing of like who's been kind of ruling the overall leagues for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hell, I'm wearing a National League hat right now.
hey, we'll see if they make it two, like you mentioned, Ryan.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to round two of the Yankees-Red Sox 2024 season recap. So, as Ben mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we met in person for the first time at Yankee Stadium this past weekend. We met on Friday night, which was Seinfeld night. So, the stadium actually had a pretty cool giveaway. They were giving away George Costanza bobbleheads in honor of the 90s sitcom, where the character of George Costanza, of course, was the assistant to the traveling secretary of the New York Yankees. So, that was a very fun giveaway. Line was packed to get those bobbleheads. Waited in the line for like 40
I got there after it, so when I saw you,
We waited.
Somebody,
I waited in
somebody
line
asked
for like
me
45
about it.
minutes.
Yeah, somebody asked me, "Did you get the bobblehead?" And I'm like, "No." Even a guy on the train at the game, he's like, "You get a bobblehead?" I'm like, "Came late, so look cool."
Would you have kept it if you had gotten it?
Probably not. I probably would have either given it to one of you guys, either you, John, Hank or Dom, or maybe sold it on eBay or somewhere. I don't know.
Not a Seinfeld fan.
No, I like Seinfeld. Honestly, I take kind of away the Yankee stuff out of it. It's a
Hmm.
Seinfeld thing. I might have kept it.
I don't
I might.
even know if there was the Yankee logo on it, to be honest.
Mm.
Hmm.
Well,
But
it's regardless of the fact. Yeah.
yeah, well, regardless, this weekend could be the second series of this series between the Yankees and the Red Sox of the season series can be summed up in three phrases: a Friday choke job, thrice rice, and Daddy Devers. That basically sums up the weekend in a nutshell. Friday night, it was a pitcher's duel for the most part between Nestor Cortez and Tanner Houck.
Mhm.
Both pitchers pitched very well. Nestor made Rafael Devers look bad, which is something that doesn't happen with the Yankees when they face him. Most of the time,
Mhm.
Rafael Devers kills them. Nestor was an exception. He struck out Devers 3 times,
Mhm.
and he pitched very well. He had a 3-1 lead. He left with a 3-1 lead.
Yeah.
Luke Weaver nearly blew it in the eighth inning. He allowed a couple of guys to get on base, but he got out of it with a couple of strikeouts, so he escaped damage. Clay Holmes, however, could not prevent damage, and he blew it again. Clay
Mhm.
Holmes with 2 outs, 2 strikes in the top of the ninth inning, with the Yankees leading by a score of 3-1. Faced Masataka Yoshida with Dominic Smith on first base with 2 outs, and he gave up a game-tying 2-run missile into the right field stands to tie the game at 3. Um, it was funny. I was talking with one of the people who we were sitting with, John. He
Mhm.
joked to me too when he hits a game tying home run. You throw your hat on the field or something. It was somewhere along those lines. And
Uh,
I was honestly anticipating how Clay Holmes was going to screw this up. I just had a feeling because he has not been good for the past month now. He's been blowing
mhm.
a lot of saves. And
Mhm.
I was anticipating the inevitable. And sure enough, the inevitable happened. Like I said, Yoshida, 2-run home run into the right field stands. Yankee Stadium turns into Fenway Park in a blink of an eye. Next thing I know, there are a bunch of Red Sox fans losing their minds. Ben was right next to me, and he was one of them. I could understand why you would lose your mind in a situation like that.
Mhm.
And so we go into extras. The Yankees have an absolutely pitiful bottom of the ninth where Trent Grisham looks at 3 pitches right down the middle. I don't know what he's looking for. He's one of the weirdest baseball players I think I've ever seen in my life. You have a bat in
Mhm.
your hands for a reason. Swing the freaking bat. Like, what are you
No,
doing?
I saw that at bet afterward, and that guy looked like he was out to lunch.
He had no that. I don't know that stuff infuriates me
I don't blame
as
you.
a baseball
Yeah.
fan. Not just for Yankees, but but baseball in general.
Especially the stake, right? Where you give it the lead, but you're like, okay, you still have a chance to walk it off, and it's the bottom half. At worst, at least swing the bat. That's the thing. And you go down 3 pitches. It's like it's not just a bad look for just you; it's a bad look for the team, especially for like team morale. Like you guys are kind of going through a little bit, and it's like, really, like I would have been pissed.
Oh, I was infuriated. Look at the ball, not the pretty blonde down the first base line. Swing the bat.
Maybe he was doing that. I don't know, right?
So that was a terrible at bat. And then there were 2 more bad at bats in the bottom of the ninth. I don't even know who was up after Gersh. I'm pretty sure Trevino or somebody was at.
DJ maybe.
Oh yeah, DJ grounded out for the 1000th time, and I think Ben Rice popped out on a broken bat. On a broken bat pop up, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's how the bottom of the ninth went. Then the top of the 10th comes. Tommy Kahnle comes into the game and immediately serves up a bomb to Ceddanne Rafaela, I believe, to center
Yes, sir.
field,
Yep.
Monument Park. Absolute bomb to center field. Red Sox take the lead 5-3. Then the bottom of the 10th comes. Kenley Jansen comes on. Of course, we have the ghost runner at second base. Juan Soto hits a line drive single to right field. Ben Rice almost makes a base running mistake, running back to second.
Oh, I
Then,
didn't see that.
then he realized that no, get your butt to third. So then there were runners at the corners with nobody out. And then there were 3 horrific at bats. Judge swings at the first pitch and fouls out. Verdugo swings at the first pitch and pops up. And then Oswaldo Cabrera grounds out to first base to end the ball game. Then the Yankees drop the first one. The Red Sox take the first one 5-3. very, very ugly game all the way around. Honestly, the way the Yankees scored their runs in that game, they scored thanks to some pretty shoddy defense from the Red Sox. So it was just kind of a poorly played game by both teams. Both teams were literally trying to hand this game on a silver platter to the other side, and the Red Sox took the last course basically. So that's one way I guess you could look at it. I've been to 45 Yankee games in my lifetime as a fan. That was one of the biggest gut punches that I received going to a game.
Mm.
So that was not fun. I know you said that's one of the wildest games that you have attended as a Red Sox fan,
Yeah,
and
I'll give my take afterward for sure. Yeah.
yeah, so that's how Friday night went. Then Saturday was the Ben Rice show. Ben Rice turning into Reggie Jackson, 3 home runs in one game as the Yankees blew out the Red Sox 14-4. Rice became the first Yankees rookie to hit 3 home runs in a game. So
Hmm.
that was a pretty neat sight to see. However, Garrett Cole continues to struggle against Rafael Devers. Devers took him deep for the 10,000th time. A very predictable home run. It was actually
Mhm.
only the 8th time. I thought it was higher, honestly. I thought he had reached 10 by now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't think I've seen a more one-sided pitcher hitter matchup in my entire life than Garrett Cole versus Rafael Devers. Devers eats Cole's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then vomits it up and shoves it back down Cole's throat.
Mm.
It's absolutely amazing how
Well,
much.
you could see after Cole gave it up, his reaction. It's almost just as like, you got to be kidding me. Like, the pitch was not even that bad, and Rafi just got the great barrel part in like a 97 mile an hour fastball. And I'm just like, there's just things with Rafi when he is locked in, Ryan. It's just amazing to watch.
He's
Like, there's
probably
just things.
when he's locked in. He's one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous hitter in baseball. Maybe even more dangerous than Judge or Otani.
Yeah, I mean, that's saying a lot for some of the best guys in baseball too.
Yeah, and Cole didn't like the celebratory bat flip that Devers did against him. But when you give up this many home runs to one guy, that you got to do something else. Maybe stop
Mm.
throwing him fastballs. Maybe throw him more off speed pitches. I don't know. I
Mm.
mean, what? But at this point, what else can you do? At this point, I am convinced that Rafael Devers will always own Garrett Cole no matter what.
You
Cole's
just
not,
you
Cole's
just
not
got to
getting.
cash the check in right before the matchup. You look at the overall matchup, and me and Dom were actually joking about it. We were at the game. He said Garrett Cole's pitching the next day. He's like, well, Devers is going to hit a homer, and funny enough, in our group chat, off the air, he hits the home run, and I think Dom's like, that was the easiest $30 I've ever made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
my brother was at that game, and he said and he texted my other brother and I. He said most predictable home run ever, and he wasn't wrong. But it didn't. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter because Ben Rice put on a show, and the Yankees creamed the Red Sox that day. Then came Sunday, and was another pitcher's duel. This was between Luis Heel and
Cutter Croft.
Cutter Crawford.
Mhm.
And both pitchers were on their game. It was the first. Luis Heel really needed this kind of start because he has really been struggling over the past month, and he finally turned in an ace-like performance after what seems like an eternity. But of course, Rafael Devers hits a home run. This was not a bomb. It barely got out of the stadium, but it was to
Yeah.
left field. It was an
Mhm.
opposite field home run, and not many lefties hit opposite field home runs at Yankee Stadium. But Devers has such power that he was able to poke this one just out of the reach of Verdugo in left field, and it got out of there. And the Red Sox took the lead, and that was more than enough. But Devers decided to have one last show, decided to have a finale, and he hit another home run off of Michael Tonkin in the 9th inning, I believe. And this was so ridiculous. The ball was well outside and up, and he just hit a missile into the Yankee bullpen. I don't know how the hell he got that ball out of there. It kind of reminded me a little bit of not to the same extent of drama, but in a way of the Chapman home run, because that was also a home run that was well up in a way, and he still hit, and that was also to left center, so that was even more impressive.
Mm.
But
That's when they were down too.
they were down. That was really when that's when everybody knew who Rafael Devers was, when he took Chapman deep. That's when he introduced himself to Major League Baseball. And once he did that, I thought and honestly, even as far back as that was 7 years ago, Even as
Mm,
far back then, I thought to myself, this guy's the new David Ortiz. I could just see it from a mile away.
mm.
And if man, imagine if him and Ortiz played together in the same lineup, how horrible that would have been for oppositions. But
Well, yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it too. Like Rafi in the 2018 team, like he was like looked as a solid, really good hitter, but like he wasn't like the guy. And I was thinking there could be a potential chance that he eventually becomes the guy of how great he is because he's getting overlooked by guys like Mookie, and Xander and JD. Obviously, and you're like, oh, you got Rafael Devers batting like fifth, so that's how 2018 Red Sox, man. I mean, well, let's be real. I mean, listen, the cheating stuff left and right, you can make an argument about that, but when that team was going through that 2018 team, might have been Ryan one of the most dominant teams Red Sox wise might have ever seen, especially with the way they went through the overall playoffs, the teams they went through, the Yankees, the Astros, and the Dodgers. I mean, you talk about the gauntlet, and they just went right through it.
those three teams barely put up a fight against them. I mean, they were. I mean, the Red Sox just dominated everybody from start to finish. They rarely slumped that year. I think they only had one 4-game losing streak that whole year.
Yeah, it was incredible.
They barely lost that year. They were very consistent. It was hard to watch as a Yankee fan, obviously, but
Mm,
I mean that you could thank the Orioles and the Blue Jays a lot for that year because they just murdered those teams to no end. They went 16-3 against the Orioles, who were one of the worst teams in baseball history.
yeah.
The 2018 Orioles were miserable, and the Red
Mm,
Sox, took advantage of that. The Blue Jays were also miserable. They went 14-5 against them, I believe, something like that. So, I mean, that's when you played your division 19 times a year. So they took advantage of that. They definitely took advantage of beating teams that were below 500.
yeah.
That definitely helped them out, and they just gained confidence. Nobody really had a bad year on that team. Everybody had a great year, and they just gelled together and they won the World Series.
Mm.
Yeah, I wish my team would do that. Um, but yeah, the Red Sox took the series 2-1. They lead the season series over the Yankees 4-2, and they are gaining steam. They just took 2 out of 3 from the Oakland A's this week. And yeah, the Red Sox are hot. The Yankees are ice cold.
It happens. It's baseball. Yeah, I will say this, Ryan. First of all, like I said in the beginning, it was great to meet you. And obviously Dom and John and Hank. I mean, I worked with Hank and Dom over at NBC, so I got to see them a bit recently. I haven't seen Dom in a long time, and I haven't seen Hank in a long time. And it was good to meet John as well too. It was just an overall great overall night, and definitely love to do it again, even if the Red Sox aren't playing. So,
Yeah.
it was like a last minute type thing. I was at work earlier in the day, and I'm like, they're going to the game, and it's a Red Sox Yankee game. I have really nothing else going on. So I got a ticket. I saw you guys, and we didn't talk about the rain delay. We there was there was a little bit of a rain delay for those that are watching. That happened, I think, in the third inning, and they did the guys are like, all right, we're putting the tarp down, and it was like maybe 40 minutes, Ryan. The rain delay probably was, and you were talking about Tanner Houck. I mean, Tanner looked like it was a little bit effective coming back from the rain delay. I think it was that inning that you guys had all the runs. I'm pretty sure. Was
Yeah,
that
it was
inning
fourth.
right after the rain delay?
It was the 5th inning that they broke through.
Yeah. Because the first two innings he was pretty much cruising. So then he was starting to kind of lose a little bit. But yeah, our infield defense came up massively big for you guys. Manuel Valdez, get him off this team. I mean, I love Emmanuel, but this guy's not an everyday second baseman. There's just some things throw wise that just I'm like, what are you doing? That was one of them. Uh, and I thought at that point in time, it was bases loaded. I think 1 out. And it was 3-0. Grisham obviously had that RBI, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a long ass night. Especially with the way things were going after Houck went down. They brought in Bailey Horn and they brought in Cam Boozer. Two lefties that I'm like, I don't know how long this is gonna last, but give them credit. They were able to kind of withstand that overall. As dominant kind of the Red Sox were getting beaten, they were only down 3 runs. Romy came up big. Romy Gonzalez, who was a utility guy. He doesn't play a lot. Ever since Ryan that he kind of went crazy in that Friday game, he's just kind of going back to the same old self back at home in Fenway, striking out, looking absolutely overmatched. barely playing right now. So I like Romy, but he's just not an everyday player. Um, but he turns into one against Nestor, who was fantastic on Friday. Um, I don't understand, Ryan, with Nestor, his home stats and his away stats. Like I watched some of the game with you guys at Tampa yesterday, and I'm like, that was the guy that I saw pitch against my team on Friday. Like Nestor's great, but I'm like, there's just some things. I mean, I guess it's just for a lot of guys, but like, you talk about the splits. I think Brian Hawk from New York Yankees beat was saying in terms of the overall splits. If you just take a look at it, it's like a home was like 5-1, and then like the away was like 2-4 or something. I don't remember, but I
ERA
just
on the road is very high.
so and it'll happen with some guys, but I'm like that was just mind boggling. But yeah, we obviously were sitting. I was sitting right next in front of a Red Sox fan, and I looked at himself in the top of the ninth inning with 2 outs. And Massa, I thought put up a really tough at bat,
He did.
regardless of what's gonna happen. I'm like, all right, well, this is now like 6 pitches. This is 7 pitch, and I think at that point, I'm like, all right, it's gonna strike out. I was ready to turn to you, shake my hand, and the other guys, good game. Regardless of the fact. I'm like, it just was not gonna be our night. And we're obviously where we were sitting, Ryan. We could have a pretty good glimpse of how the ball was kind of traveling in right field, and when he cracked that one, I literally just stood there just in shock. I'm like, there's no way. And then when it went over, I was looking in front of the Red Sox fan, we turned to each other, and like I was still in dead shock. I couldn't even like celebrate. I was more in a dead state of shock because Massa was hitting 2 home runs at that point in time. He hit one last night. He's really starting to hit a little bit. So maybe we could thank the Yankees for his hot streak because he's really hitting well, thankfully, for Massa. I'm really happy for him. He's just going through a lot right now, injury wise and stuff. And yeah, just it's not just the morale, the way that he hit that, but for the team right there, 2 outs, top of the ninth. I haven't seen a lot of games like that in person, where I most likely not on the other side. I mean, I saw Josh Donaldson walk us off a couple years ago against Matt Barnes. I mean, we were kind of out at that point, so I don't really care, but it was just kind of tough. And then last year, when the Red Sox were Yankee Stadium, I saw them lose 3-1. Actually, funny enough, 3-1. I saw them lose. So I'm like, it could have been the same exact way things were happening. A pitcher stool. I think Domingo Herman was on the mound last year with you guys. He shut us out like crazy. And Houck was pitching. It's literally almost the same exact script. And thankfully, we're able to have a big hit there by Massa. Then, of course, extra innings happens. Ceddanne Rafaela. Something about the Raffies, right? Apparently, just on the Yankees now, we have the big Raffy, and then we have potentially this little small Raffy that's potentially going to give you guys nightmares. So that does sound kind of nice, but we'll see. But he turns on one, and I thought at the point in time it didn't look on. I thought it was going to go over Grissom kind of the way he was kind of running. It looked like it was going to be like a double or something. But man, the ball traveled, and I'm like, all right, now we're kind of in business. Jaron obviously got the double, and I was really hoping for that third run. Core always emphasizes, especially in extra innings, you need to get 2 runs. One run obviously really doesn't do you much because you obviously have a guy at first base. Crack of the back, game's over. So thankfully they got another one. They got a 2-run homer. But then when we were moving, Ryan, away from our seats, I told you and I told Dom, this game not over yet. Kelly obviously could make things very, very interesting. You got the top of the order. Soto obviously was up. I was guaranteeing Soto's time this game, especially with the way things were kind of going at that point. I'm like, this game's just not going to end, is it? And Soto cranked one to right. It was first and third, and then Judge was up. I'm like, all right, this is gonna end like crazy. But I'm like, hey, at least they made it interesting. It's gonna hurt like a what. But first pitch, wow, Judge goes up first pitch, pops it up.
That was such a bad at bat.
Rafi makes a nice catch, and then Verdugo. I mean, goodness gracious, man! First pitch after after the bat prior, and you're just gonna go hacking like that. Damn, I was like still shocked. I'm like, really, not gonna work with that bat? Pop out, and then Oswaldo grounded out. Red Sox survive. And like you said, every team was kind of gifting it to the other team. So we essentially came up with the last laugh. But That was a game of the year, Canada, at least for Red Sox, especially kind of with the young team that this team has. In your own at the other rivals team park, it's like the Yankees coming to Fenway. You got 2 outs, and you got Soto up, and the Red Sox are having a chance to take like a series from you guys, and then boom, crack at the bat, the whole place just goes dead. Um, it was really really fun, but I was just more after the game in the shell shock. And funny enough, actually, when I was on the train home, I was talking to this veteran who's a Yankee fan, and we kind of caught a little conversation, kind of how is the game stuff and this and that, and he told me, he's like, that sometimes sports is like you just kind of have to wait till the end because you just never know. Sometimes you could be on the good side of it, and sometimes you can be on the bad side of it, and that's obviously why we love it. So, but obviously, it was just to see you guys was kind of more the experience than not. Obviously, the win that the Red Sox had to come from behind was great and all, but it was just overall fun night, and can't wait to do it again with you guys. And then obviously Saturday happened. I won't really talk about that much because we just Ben Rice just absolutely creamed us, but I'm happy for Ben Rice. He's a Massachusetts kid. And even if it's from another team to have 3 home runs, just like a young kid, just something like, I don't know, like I can't really even like hate that. Like it was like a really cool moment for him. And the Red Sox were just very thin bullpen wise. They had Josh Winkowski, who now is not a starter anymore. He's a guy in the pen. They had Chase Anderson, who I like Chase Anderson, but he's okay, all right, And they had I'm trying to think who was in the middle. Oh yeah, Greg Weissert. He's really going through right now. Yankee legend. Great. Your guy Greg is really going through right now with the Red Sox. He has like a 5 ERA right now in like the last couple months. So tough for Greg, but I like him overall. So yeah, the Yankees just really poured it on. And then Sunday happened, and man, Ryan, that was one of the quickest games,
That was
Yankee
very
Red
fast.
Sox games I have ever seen. I'm like, it was like the 5th inning, and I'm looking, and it was like 8:30, and I'm like, I
I thought
don't
it was 8 o'clock.
I'm like the pitch clock. I'm like, damn, like they're having like a competition or something. But it was the way that both guys were pitching. It was a lot of quick outs, first pitches and stuff, and Cutter Crawford, man, had a fantastic outing. I thought he could have even went the distance. I was a little bit skeptical when Cora took him out, I think in the 7th, and they brought in Slayton. I think it was the 7th or 8th. And then at the time, it was 2-0. Yankees still had a lot of traffic in a lot of late innings. So this game could have kind of been like the Friday game. I wouldn't have been surprised. But thankfully, the Red Sox bullpen was really good. Raffy, obviously, that second one, that should have never been a home run for any other guy but Raffy. I was still in cell shock, but that was a massive insurance run because at 2-0, you go to 3-0, especially with the way that, we kind of pitched before. And I could just see the ballpark, Yankee fans, stop pitching this guy because, like, there's nobody else in the Red Sox lineup that is a massive threat to the Yankees than he is. And they're just like, all right, shit, we'll do it again. We'll give you it. And at the point in time, Tompkins pitched, that wasn't even a bad pitch for, like, most pitchers. So, like, you can't even, like, fault him for that. And the thing was, too, Ryan, was Sunday, the ball was not traveling. Like, the ball, like, I know, like, Cabrera hit a ball. Even DJ. Like DJ, I know we've been criticizing DJ, but DJ almost hit it out. Like he hit it right off the wall. He has a really, really nice swing by DJ. So that game, it was only going to take a couple of runs, I think, to kind of decide the outcome, especially the way the ball was traveling. And thankfully, Kenley came in and had a 1-2-3. Red Sox were able to get some more ground, and not only on the Yankees, but in the division. And now, they came back home and they had to beat the A's, take care of business, and really, hopefully, at least in this month, because you look at the overall division right now. I mean, obviously, the Yankees. We'll talk about them a little bit. They've been slumping, but you guys don't worry. You guys will be fine. I know for a fact that. Trust me. And the Red Sox just like you mentioned off the air, Ryan, they're probably overachieving a little bit, but with this type of team, they maybe have to overachieve a little bit, especially the way that the kind of things are going to happen in this overall division. And I'm gonna keep on running high. It's obviously it's great when it happens. I'm gonna keep running them when it goes low too. So I'm gonna take it as is, and we'll hopefully see what happens this weekend. But obviously, like you said, great to see you, and it's obviously it was a really really tight series overall. I mean, outside of that Sunday game, and we play you guys at the end of this month now, which we'll see what happens then.
Oh, God, I want a break from you guys. I really do. It's now, we didn't face you till June, and now it feels like we're facing you every single weekend.
Uh,
No, it was really cool getting to meet you in person. We had a lot of fun,
mhm,
regardless of the outcome of the game. It was a good night.
yep.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. The only other downside to that, besides the loss, was the rain delay because I was eating ice cream and I literally had to shove my face into the ice cream because it was melting so quickly. And I
Yeah.
also took a shower in line basically for that ice cream as well. I was drenched once that
Mhm,
game ended. But
yeah.
yeah, fun day. It was very fun, and it was definitely cool getting to meet you guys. So some takeaways that we have from the first half. One of the key takeaways that I think that I want to just address is that despite all the moves that they made during the offseason, the Dodgers are not necessarily unbeatable. They got swept by the Phillies this past week, and they
Mhm,
not have not necessarily been dominating the league as many people I think thought they would. I mean, don't get me wrong; they still have the talent to do so, but you look at this Dodger team, like anybody in baseball, they're flawed. They don't necessarily have the strongest pitching staff or a bullpen. I definitely think at the deadline they need to make some upgrades to both their rotation and their bullpen. I mean, granted they've been missing some guys too. They've been hit with injuries throughout the course of the year. Obviously, they've been without Kershaw this whole year up to this point. Um, Yoshinobu Yamamoto's been hurt for about a month now.
mhm,
Obviously, losing Mookie Betts really hurt them. Betts was having an MVP season until he went down.
mhm.
So they've definitely been hit with some bad luck this year. But yeah, they have not been dominating the league as you thought that they would, or that they have, or the way that they have in the past. Now they still have a comfortable lead in the National League West, and they're gonna win the division. But yeah, I think it goes to show that despite all the moves that they've made and all the names that they have in that lineup, I think it goes to show that they're beatable, and teams shouldn't look past that. And they're human, and I don't know if they're the best team in baseball, to be honest. I mean, I think they can make noise. They have the potential to be dangerous, but yeah, I think the biggest takeaways are that they're not as dominant or as good as they may seem to be on paper. And another takeaway that I have is I think Cleveland's for real. I think the Guardians are a real deal.
Mhm,
I kind of thought that they were overachieving a little bit at the beginning of the year, but they've stayed consistent. They put together really good at bats. They love hitting with runners in scoring position. They thrive in those spots. They love to put the ball in play. They really don't strike out at all. And similar to the Dodgers, their weakness is in their pitching. But I think they will definitely make some moves at the deadline. But Guardians have really impressed me. I think they're a legitimate threat this year. I think that this is the strongest Cleveland team since 2016 or 2017 when they were really at the top of their game. So we'll see. But those are two takeaways that I've had. I don't know if you have any other takeaways that you want to add from the first half.
Yeah, I have a couple. My first is how disappointing the first half is by the Texas Rangers, the defending champs, and we pretty much kind of say that it's really hard to repeat in sports. But um, they obviously been without Degrom for a while, but granted enough, they were without Degrom a lot last year. They did okay. They something's off of them. Obviously, Adolis Garcia's had a really kind of tough first half. He's been one of their guys. Seager's obviously been all right, but their pitching staff, Ryan, has been very hit or miss this year. Especially, I picked the Astros to win the division, but right now, currently as constructed, I mean, shit, the Rangers lost 7-2 to the Angels the other night. There's just something with them. Like you're talking about the Dodgers being very not unbeatable. The Rangers obviously were one of the hottest teams last year. I felt like nobody could beat them. And this year, something's off with them. Heck, they might even be a seller potentially at the deadline. We'll talk about it a little bit, but that's one of the biggest takeaways is how much of a turn the Rangers have had because they brought pretty much a lot of the guys from the World Series team from last year back, and they just haven't got going. I would say yet. We'll see what happens in the second half. Um, And my other thing was, I mean, I was going to say Cleveland because, they changed managers, and they really haven't, lost a beat. They played really, really well, and and we really kind of talked about in terms of the AL Central, in terms of who was going to kind of take that, and it feels like it's Cleveland right now. They've been without Shane Bieber, for pretty much a lot of the season. They don't really have kind of the main guy specifically in their rotation, but I think they will add some pieces at the deadline. Um, and you know what, Ryan? This is not even a team perspective. I think it's the the pitch clock in terms of how much it really I haven't been affected by it as much as I thought. I thought this was going to be something that was going to really be a massive hit to baseball in terms of just stuff, this and that. And I would say for the most part, like I know we were at the game on Friday. Um, I I don't mind it. I mean, I thought it was really, really going to hurt me as much as I thought. And I think for the most part, it's been fine. And, the games overall, a lot of people are kind of, complaining how long these games are going to be. I mean, 2.5 hours. I mean, that's kind of a standard time for baseball. And it's been pretty much kind of that. So, yeah, those are pretty much my three takeaways. Two, obviously, team wise, and obviously one that's not.
Yeah, it's been a wild first half to say the least, and I want to squeeze in our last topic before we end it here. Some early trade buyers slash seller team predictions. So there's been a lot of talk. I think that we have a kind of a clear indication of where certain teams are going to be going.
Yep.
I think it's safe to say that for our teams, I mean, I know you might be a little more indecisive, but I think both the Yankees and the Red Sox are going to be buyers at the deadline. I think the case is more clear for the Yankees because they spent all that money and they made all those trades in the offseason, I should say. You got Juan Soto here for a reason. This is probably your last chance to win with this core group of guys like Glaber and Rizzo, even though both guys have not performed at all this year. You can't. This might be your only year with Soto, obviously. So this is a year that you cannot waste. So I think the Yankees are going to be buyers this year. In terms of the moves that they make this year, I do expect them to add an arm or two in that rotation and bullpen, but I don't know if it's going to be the elite arms that a lot of teams are going to be striving for. I think the Yankees could maybe pick up somebody like a Tyler Anderson from the Angels,
Hmm.
and we've seen some rumors swirling around that Jazz Chisholm could be an option for the Yankees. I think I talked about Chisholm in an episode or two ago. I am not a fan of Chisholm. He's all bling bling to me. He's more bling bling in fashion than he is baseball, if you ask me. I'm not a fan of him. But honestly, with how poorly Glaber's played this year, um, I think it might not be the worst thing either, but I wouldn't expect much from Chisholm. I guess that's basically what I'm saying here. So that's what I could see the Yankees doing. I don't know if you want to elaborate on what you could see the Red Sox doing.
Yeah, I'll do it for both of you guys. I mean, the Yankees are guaranteed buy. I wouldn't be worried too worried about that, despite obviously the start recent slid you guys have been having. The Red Sox with the ownership is more of a I don't know. I don't know because I think us fans are looking at this team saying buy, especially with the way that things have been kind of going this first half. But the ownership, you know, they might just slap it in our face like they've been kind of doing with a lot of the things the last couple of years. I think all jokes aside though, I think it'll be more of a bid of a buy than it will be more for a sell. Because, like I was telling you, the AL is very wide open. This is a time now for the Red Sox to at least make a couple moves. It doesn't even have to be like a massive splash, like a Garrett Crochet or Luis Robert per se. I was kind of saying off the year, like a Brendan Rodgers from Colorado and a Cal Quantrill. Maybe put like them in like a trade package, right? Guys specifically won't wow you on the stat lines, this and that, but guys that can make a little impact because this team just needs just a little bit more. Like they just need a couple pieces, maybe just another arm for innings to kind of take some guys that maybe might be some more bulk guys, the bullpen guys, take away from that starting spot and putting them back into the pen where they belong. And then you bring like a guy like Quantrill in, who's not going to obviously be crazy, but maybe a 4 or 5, give you like 5 innings, 6 innings, maybe 2 or 3 runs, and you'll take it, kind of right with it. And then Brendan Rodgers, the infield defense, the Red Sox continuously be a massive problem. Rodgers can come in, play second base, and maybe guys like Emmanuel Valdez and some others kind of slide down, play off the bench if need. And because Von Grissom, I don't know if this guy will ever come back. I'm not gonna lie. And if he does come back, how is he's obviously going to be? Um, Really, one thing too from the first half takeaways is Chris Sale, and the overall trade now looks completely. It looks like we lost that massively right now,
Mhm.
which kind of sucks. But I'm really happy for Chris. He's gonna be an All Star this year for the first time in forever. But yeah, I think with the Red Sox, I think if they're going to buy, I think it's gonna be something small, which I don't think they're gonna have to go crazy busy on anyway. So yeah, that's kind of how I see both of our teams.
Yeah, and we did talk about some of the other predictions that we could see come at the trade deadline. We've mentioned how we could see Garrett Crochet of the White Sox go to the Orioles at the deadline. I still think that is going to happen.
Mhm.
The White Sox, I know, are going to be unloading a lot of their team. They're
Right.
basically going to be naked by the end of the trade deadline. There's going to be no fur on that chicken
Mhm.
once the deadline is there. They're going to have nobody on that roster. You can
Mhm.
say goodbye to Luis Robert Jr. I could see him.
Andrew
Maybe,
Vaughn, maybe.
well, yeah,
Mhm.
Andrew Vaughn is most likely going to be gone. I could see the Astros definitely going to be buyers. I think it's safe
Yeah.
to say that they're back and they're going to be buyers at the deadline. I
Mhm.
think they could. I don't. I know I talked about maybe Pete Alonso joining them in a couple of episodes ago. I don't know if that's going to happen necessarily, but
Mhm.
maybe they'll try and get Cody Bellinger from the Cubs. Maybe.
Possibly, and even though he's hurt though now, so
Yeah, I forgot about that. But maybe they could get Robert from the White Sox. I could
okay.
see that. I think Robert would make a lot would be logical. I know you mentioned Josh Bell as well from the
Mhm.
Marlins.
Yep.
Um, he could be another piece as well. So there are a lot of there are a lot of possibilities that can happen, and we'll see. But unfortunately, we're out of time here. We're over an hour now, and yeah, that was episode number 40 of Hitting for the Cycle. The All Star break, as we mentioned, is next week. We are wrapping up the first half of the baseball season. In the blink of an eye, it really feels like yesterday we were in spring training, and now here we
Yes.
are in the middle of July. It's wild how fast the season's going. But yeah, I think regardless, it'll be an interesting and relaxing week at least from baseball.
Yeah.
I think everybody could use a little bit of a couple of days off, but
Mhm.
yeah, on behalf of Ben Cruz, I'm Ryan Touhey. Take care.